it's hard. My expectations are so high with the way this roster is built, and especially not just the roster. My answer also goes to how much I believe in Jalen Hurts. I think he will show us some things, but what I want to see personally for me to say he's the guy, I want to either see a division crown, or I need to see 12 wins.
All right, without further ado, we have Philly 500 in the first hour. Now we have LB here, Lord Brunson, and I've got to get his book and his take on this thing here. Hey, brother, let me ask you this, man. The excitement level after what you saw your Eagles do last night was what?
Dan, I've been showing my teeth all day, Dan. I've been smiling all day, Dan. This was a good one, Dan. We can't even get around this, man. Listen, Jordan Davis is a physical specimen. I've never seen nobody move like he can move at his size. That's number one. You get a guy like that, you believe in him so much, you trade up for him. I thought he might have been there at 15, so I was kind of upset about that at first. But I'm like, hey, if you believe in this guy and we seen what this guy can do, I'm not mad. And then the A.J. Brown thing happened. And then it made me take this whole thing into perspective, because the last time you and I talked, Dan, we both said we don't think they did enough for the offense. So then you go get A.J. Brown, and now it's looking like you got the best wide receiver room in the division, just like that.
Well, here's something else to think of now. Let's add what they did last night. Okay, so they get Hassan Reddick, 3 years, $45 million. Mm-hmm. They restructured Fletcher Cox's deal from 18 to 14. The Zach Pascal deal now looks like it's clearly for depth, right? He's going to be a depth guy. Quez is going to be a pseudo DeSean Jackson, where you can go plus 25 with him because of his 4 threes, and you've got depth at the position at $1.5 million. You made that trade with the Saints so that you can maneuver around. Then you add Jordan Davis. You may have the biggest defensive tackles I've ever seen in the history of the National Football League. Now you kind of look like a little bit, right? LB, you look like that 17 team where you're both front seven and your offensive line are once again 2 dominant tandems where you're going to be in every single football game. Now you may even add Honey Badger to the secondary. So again, just your thoughts here now on how he's, hey, I did this. I went from a C-. I went to an A. I think the guy has a solid A all season, and they improved their team better than any football team in the NFC East. Do you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, this is a solid A. This is an A on a magnitude that has you guys looking like contenders. You look like contenders. It all depends on what the quarterback does, though. But I will say this, though, Dan. Speaking of Kyle Hamilton, him going to the Ravens, I think we did something really smart right there in regards to the Honey Badger, because we moved up. We could have took Kyle Hamilton. Maybe we said, hey, we'll let you get him. And who are the 2 teams that the Honey Badger were debating going to? The Ravens and the Eagles. The Ravens don't need a safety anymore. So
maybe that lowers the value now too, money-wise, because the market then comes back. And then Howie will have to decide if I want to go into the draft and get a kid like the kid Cross from Maryland in round number 3, or do I go out and put Honey Badger on a 1-year contract and both come to an agreement where they say, hey, let's just do a 1-year deal here. Let's see how it works out. If we're happy with one another here, you're being added to a mix now. And if you're Honey Badger, don't you look at the Eagle defense in a whole different light today than you did last night?
Absolutely. You look at everything in a whole different light now. People seem to forget about Hassan Reddick and what he really means to this team, especially the style of defense that Gannon wants to play. You got pass rushers now all over the place, interior, on the outside, and you bolstered up that linebacking core with grabbing Kaiser White. All you had to do was bring in a guy like Honey Badger as the icing on the cake, to be that, leader, so to speak, for the defensive side of the ball. I think this is a team that could contend. This is a team. If Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback today, I would be saying we're going to the NFC Championship.
That leads me to the quarterback then. What do you have to see from Jalen Hurts this year to give him the key? Because I don't want to do this with you next year. LB, I don't want to ask you about Jalen Hurts next year. I want to know if he's – I agree. By the way, do we agree? We now say this, hey, give it to Howie in the front office. Jalen's given every opportunity to succeed here. If he fails, it is on his production, right? I mean, you got a Pro Bowl wideout. You've got a kid who broke all the records, wide receiver-wise for the Eagles on the other end. You got a tight end who's going to be an up-and-coming guy. You got Quez that could get deep. You got the best O-line. I mean, you got an opportunity here to do something really great. If he doesn't succeed here, this is all on him. What do you need to see from him this year?
This year, he has to – it's hard. My expectations are so high with the way this roster is built, and especially, not just the roster. My answer also goes to, how much I believe in Jalen Hurts. I think he will show us some things, but what I want to see personally for me to say he's the guy, I want to either see a division crown, or I need to see 12 wins, because with the teams that we play in this roster, you don't have to be that good to get 12 wins. I really believe in this roster with the moves that we're seeing right now.
LB, you've done something that made me think back again on my comment. I said I wanted to see 4,225 touchdowns and maybe between 7 and 10 picks. You said the ultimate thing. That's the right thing. Division title, and it's more about winning. It's not how you drive the car, it's how you arrive.
And we forget that all the time, Dan. People have been asking me all week since the draft started, what quarterback would you rather have in the NFC East? I'm like, Jalen Hurts, because when it ultimately comes down to it, we see what Dak Prescott is going to produce. He ain't getting to no NFC Championship game. We know Carson Wentz very well. We question the heart. Jalen Hurts is the unknown in the division. You know what I mean? So I want to see the end result, because it might not look pretty all the time because we run and we pass. As long as we get to where we're trying to go, that's all I'm concerned with. Are we going to win this division, or are we going to win 12 games? I got to see that. One or the other with this roster.
A.J. Brown's impact on this offense will be what?
Astronomical. Astronomical. But it really goes back to the quarterback as well, because in a perfect world with a quarterback that we're comfortable with making all the throws, A.J. Brown opens up the game for everybody. Who are you going to double? I mean, Devontae Smith already going into a second year can beat almost anybody in this game one-on-one. A.J. Brown has proven he's a vet at 24 years old. Who are you going to double? Dallas Goedert is still here. Can't forget about him. Hey, Dallas, you know what I mean? It's just you have to see success. We can't have any stagnant games this season with the ball not moving up and down the field. It's no excuse for it this season.
How about this, too? And why he's such a great fit? Remember something. He comes from a system where he wasn't the focal point. Throwing the ball in Tennessee was not what they were trying to do. They were trying to run the ball with Derrick Henry. And let's not forget, he's coming off of a football team that was the number 1 seed in the AFC going into the playoffs. People forget it wasn't the Bengals. It was the Titans who were the number 1 seeded team going into this past postseason. So he comes from that system. And I'll tell you something else I love about the kid too, LB. He didn't want to leave Tennessee. He was happy where his feet were. He was happy with what he was being asked to do, stick his bonnet in there, to sacrifice some of his game for the running attack, being a team guy. I'm like this. That's why you give a guy like that $100 million and 57 in guarantees, because you know why? When you get a guy like that in your locker room, he's all in. We're not going to see a diva guy here collect his money, and we see it all the time. All of a sudden, they don't want to block. All of a sudden, they don't want to hit. This guy here is the quintessential teammate. He showed it in Tennessee. He sacrificed his game for the benefit of the team, and that's kind of what the setup is in Philly, no?
Yeah, I agree. But not only that, Dan, he also helped bring in Julio Jones, knowing that was going to take even more food off of his plate, so to speak. So the guy is the ultimate teammate. And I think it's going to be even better here because he actually has a relationship with the quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So you're going to see just the ultimate team ball, I think. That's my prediction for this passing game. You're going to see unselfishness. You're going to see guys have their day. It's not going to be about the same guy every week. I think we got the right group of young kids, because a lot of people on this roster are under like 25.
How about this? I think the oldest guy's 27.
Is it?
Is it 27? Like
Yeah, it's 27. I'm trying to remember who it is. Was it Goddard?
Is it
No,
Goddard?
it wasn't Goddard.
The rest of these guys are in their mid-20s, right?
Exactly. The rest of these guys are under 25 with the exception of one guy, if I got that correct. And the maturity level speaks volumes. You don't hear about these guys getting in trouble. And we have the roster right now is the perfect mix of veterans and young players. The perfect mix. This is how you build a championship, man. Howie Roseman gets an A+ with a golden star, whatever you get, the top of he did it, man. He did it day one. I'll say that.
You think this is his best offseason he has had since he's been the general manager of the Eagles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it is. I think this is his best offseason. And he's had some pretty good ones. He's good at, trading. He was good at trading towards a trade deadline. But this offseason, in a nutshell, you go out and acquire 3 first-round picks. I know you did that last offseason. But we can't forget how he moved another pick as an insurance policy for next year. So all this good stuff is happening, and we still have 2 first-round picks next year. This is the greatest offseason Howie Roseman has had as general manager, hands down.
What do you want to see in day 2 tonight and maybe over the weekend?
It's 3 players that I'm keeping my eye on. 3 players I feel like if you get one, I feel like this draft is, will be all-time classic. But it's 3 guys. I'm looking at Leo Chenal, Wisconsin. If somehow, some way, if you could trade up 5-10 spots to get him, because I don't think it's going to last to 51, but I think this guy's like the best linebacker in the draft. So I'm really going to keep my eye on him and see where he goes. Nick Cross out of Maryland. We need a safety. That speaks volumes. Keep my eye on him. And Marcus Jones out of Houston. Not a lot of people are talking about Marcus Jones, but Marcus Jones probably is the best punt returner in this draft. He also has 6 picks and 12 pass breakups. This is a guy who just makes plays. And I like this cornerback out of Houston, and you need a cornerback anyway. So I'm looking at those 3 guys really closely.
How about this? This is going to, and believe me, I feel like throwing up in my mouth right now when I'm going to tell you this here, okay? But how about going after the punter from San Diego State and bringing that kid in who's the top punter in the country and a game changer? And get this, he's a field position changer. And the reason why I think that position is so important to the development of a quarterback, you're going to get a lot of 3 and outs while these guys are trying to figure each other out. You know what I mean? I mean, you're going to early on, you're really going to have to try to figure out one another. A.J. Brown's targets, Devontae Smith's targets, Dallas Goedert's targets. Your screen game's got to improve, which means this. You're going to get a lot of 3 and outs. What you don't want to have is your special teams put you in a bind and you're constantly playing from behind and you're never going to get a true assessment and you're never going to get a true evaluation if you're really not moving the chains. And it's only because these guys just don't have the reps yet. These guys got to get reps here. And so what a great punter who could change the field position for you, it gives them a little bit more autonomy. Now with what I've done, LB, on defense, I may have the number 1 rush-stopping defense in the NFL with that front 7 that they have and the number 1 rush offense. I'm going to have some 3 and outs. You see where I'm coming from? That if you have a really good punter here, it kind of gives you a little more latitude in development.
I agree. I agree. I thought of special teams as well, but I thought of it from, the other side of it. I'm looking for a more explosive returner. I feel like our punter, he ain't the worst, but hey, if you can get a good punter that can flip field position for you, go after it. That's why I got Marcus Jones on this list. I mean, you need Rager just not cutting it as a punt returner. He's just not cutting it. You need a guy that's going to be able to get you some positive yardage. Sometime. With
this move here, you think Rager's not on the starting lineup he's not on the roster in September, do you think?
I don't want to say he's going to go to the practice squad. I just don't think they're going to cut him because he's the 5th guy right now. Right now, today, he's the 5th guy. And then with him, taking all the stuff off his social media going into day 2, like, does he know something we don't know? Because we got one too many wide receivers, if you ask me.
If they draft another wideout tonight or in round 3, my opinion, he won't be on a football team in September.
No. I think they're going to try to find somewhere for him to go tonight, though, before that happens.
So you think they maybe end up moving him for like maybe a day 3 move or something like that, or a late move tonight? You maybe end up moving him. Could you see them moving Gardner Minshew or maybe even Dillard tonight? To acquire more picks? Because there's a lot of good players. Hey, I said this, LB, yesterday. between pick 15 and 60. These guys are all the same here.
Yeah.
There was 15 legitimate first rounders, according to a lot of front offices. There weren't really a lot of legitimate first rounders. The Eagles got one of them in Jordan Davis for sure. Do you maybe move these guys so you can acquire more picks?
Yeah, I think about it. The guys you named, along with Jalen Reagor, they all could be potential bait. There's still a couple of teams that need quarterbacks, so Gardner Minshew services should still be in high demand. Andre Dillard is a guy a lot of people want to really just see if he's that bad. Some people will gamble on him. You know, he doesn't get the playing time that he should get for where he was drafted at with us. And you got to figure out what to do with Jalen Reagor at the end of the day. He just ain't cutting it here. So the guy that I could really see moving the fastest, though, would be Reagor today. I think Reagor would benefit from a change of scenery.
Two last questions for you here. Quite a logjam now, right, on the defensive line. What's the rotation going to look like? I mean, there's a lot of money invested on Fletcher Cox, and there's a lot of money also on the cap when it comes to Hargrave. So are we going to see Jordan Davis maybe be in a three-man rotation with Fletcher and Hargrave? How do we see the ends play out? Sweat and Hassan Reddick are going to be your defensive ends. Where's the other room for the other guys on being developed too? How do you see this whole thing playing out for Jonathan Gannon?
So with the defensive tackles, I think we're going to play more 2 D tackle formations. I think we're going to have it makes sense
more 43.
Yeah. It makes sense in my opinion. I mean, Why wouldn't you have 2 of those gigantic walls out there at the same time, knowing that you have 3 of them? So I think we're going to go more 4-3. And as far as the edges go, you know, that's kind of a toss-up for me because I think Brandon Graham still really deserves some time. I really like how am I forgetting his name right now? Milton Williams. I really like him because he can line up on the outside and on the inside. I see Derek Barnett sliding to the back of the rotation. But in short, if we're going to go 4-3, I think you're going to come out there with Josh Sweat. You're going to come out there with Hargrave, Cox. You're going to bring Davis in slowly but surely. His time will increase. You're going to come back out there with BG.
You think Derek Barnett's days are limited?
Very limited. I don't see him making a roster. We got so many bodies on the defensive line. I don't see him making a roster, actually.
So that new contract extension that he got, again, was just paperwork here. And
yeah, wasn't a lot of guaranteed money tied to it, if I remember correctly.
And you know what? He may be another guy also that they try to move tonight or tomorrow.
That's true. Nobody's talking about that.
Because they do have now a log jam, right? They got it's a good thing. Still backer work, right? They still maybe in this draft would like to, or at least I would like them see them go after a linebacker and try to strengthen that core. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. That's why Leo Chenal is the top guy on my list. I absolutely agree. Linebacker, I mean, we got Hassan Reddick, but what's his specialty? Getting after the quarterback. Had 20 sacks the last 2 seasons. We need a guy that's good in coverage and a guy that also has a specialty of getting. We need a well-rounded linebacker. Reddick is that, but
who
you're going to use him?
Who would have ever thought you and me would be going? Great job, Howie.
Right. I was not optimistic at all. I put out a tweet. I said this could be the worst night for Philadelphia sports in a long time if the Sixers lose and Howie messes this up. And the Sixers end up blowing out Toronto and Howie ends up knocking it out the park.
I was like this. Who's got more heat out of Doc Rivers or Howie Roseman last night?
Right.
And Doc ends up coaching his ass off. They blow that team off the floor. And I'm like, Howie blows everybody's mind too, man. No, I was like, hey, and by the way, just so you know, LB, so I get a text message from the Eagles, you know, because they're watching the show now. And so, and I'll tell you, Bob Lang from the Eagles, I get a text from those guys and they go, how do you like us now?
I was
like, you'll find out at 3:00 Eastern. Hey, I was like, no, man, I got to tell you, I was really taken. I'm really, really, I don't know are you surprised?
No, actually, I'm not surprised because Howie Roseman has done this.
You got to be a little surprised with the AJ Brown deal because it's $100 million.
I'm surprised. Okay, I'm surprised with that one. Because we knew you were going to have to get a guy and extend him immediately. They do what they do it with. I'm at loss for words with that one, man. They do what everybody. They've done everything that we've asked them to do. What have they not done?
They contacted John Lynch on Debo, it was them, the Jets, and the Lions had contacted the 49ers, potentially just feeling out John Lynch and the organization. They passed on it. Okay. It was almost the same deal. And they would have to obviously have given Deebo Samuel the $25 million that he wanted. And they landed on AJ. Hey, by the way, you got to give Jalen Hurts a lot of love here for recruiting a kid. They were throwing around to each other. And hey, and get this, that's pretty cool too, because Jalen went out there and said, hey, man, this is going to be a place for them to come.
Yeah. And you know, we kind of take his superstar quality, you know, for granted. He was a superstar in college. He was a runner-up for the Heisman. He was on ESPN every time I turned around making a play. So, you know, people would naturally want to play with him. So, you know, he deserves some kudos for that one as well, man. You know, we're bringing stars to Philly. We're bringing guys that sell jerseys, Dan. That's my mom. We're bringing guys that
That's
sell
right,
jerseys,
Sileo. No seats. 69,937. Always remember that, bitch. 69,937. Nobody cares who the quarterback is. We're in the seats. It's jerseys and beers. LB, thank you, brother, man. I appreciate it. I love you and Philly 500. You guys are now a staple on the program. Thank you, so
man,
much for stepping in, man. I appreciate it, brother.
All right, enjoy your weekend, Dan.
You got it. Should be a great weekend too, man. Unbelievable. By the way, Morgan & Morgan, part of the National Football Show, just like everybody else and just like you guys are. We so appreciate it, man. Finding that attorney is one of the most important things you could possibly do. And Morgan & Morgan, size matters. There is no law firm in the country bigger than Morgan & Morgan. For the people, it's not a slogan. It's who they are. It's what they do. This is a firm that for the last 30 years has got compensation for their clients in the range of $13 billion. You heard that right. Compensation for their clients, $13 billion in the last 30 years. With over 800 attorneys and offices in Philadelphia, New York, Florida, and across the country, the army of attorneys that Morgan & Morgan has to go to battle for you, second to none. That's who they are. It's what they do. They will fight for you and your family, making sure you get the fair compensation you so need. Also, the call is free. The consultation's free. Call them at 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. Nobody like Morgan & Morgan. They're the biggest firm in the country, and size matters. Do me a favor. When you call Morgan & Morgan, tell them Big Sil sent you.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When you're hit from behind in a car crash, the insurance company may try to say, you can't possibly be hurt. It was only a few miles an hour. It's simply not true. You see, here's the thing. Getting hit at 10 miles per hour is like falling off of this. 15 miles per hour, like this. And only 25 miles per hour, this. Injured, dial pound law. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.